Okay, next video in the Mario Kart series. Yeah, so we've spoken about, I think, like 5 different Mario Karts now. But let's talk about where it all started. Super Mario Kart on the SNES. So, Super Mario Kart. It was the first one. Yeah, this game, it's not aged incredibly well. But you know what? Let me tell you this here, right? I have always been very critical of some of the older Mario Karts, particularly 64 and SNES, and while I do think I went a little bit harsh on 64 in my video on it, I still do definitely think it's the worst Mario Kart and really don't like it. And SNES, I always just assumed was kind of bad. I never really actually played it fully. I played 64 fully before. I've done full playthroughs of it. I've played through long sessions in 64 and I still don't like it. However, I've never played Super Mario Kart for a long session. And so I decided, why not do that so I can actually see if it is as bad as I think it is. So I did. And my conclusion? It is not nearly as bad as people say it is. Now, don't get me wrong. It's still not a good Mario Kart. The current ones, the newer ones, are objectively better. 64 is the exception to that rule. However, you know, other modern ones are better. But I'm here to at the very least make some form of a case for Super Mario Kart. So, yeah, let's talk about it. So, let's begin with the character roster, as we usually do in these videos. So, Super Mario Kart's character roster, it is, you know, it's alright. I mean, for the first ever game, it's not the worst roster you could ever imagine, you know? There's not a ton of baby characters. I mean, there's one infant character. Let's go over our characters. So we've got Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Bowser, Toad, Koopa Troopa, and not Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong Jr. For some reason. I don't know why they included Donkey Kong Jr. as the character instead of just Donkey Kong. Makes absolutely no sense to me, but, you know, he's there. But that's pretty much the character selection in terms of the game. You know, it's not too large, it's only a roster of 8. However, it's not the worst roster you could ever think of. Now, because this is the first ever Mario Kart, other aspects that we kind of are used to nowadays in current Mario Karts are non-existent in this one, particularly the fact that there isn't any sort of kart selector, which was introduced in Double Dash, I'm pretty sure. So everyone's driving the same kart. However, obviously different characters have different weight stats, so there's that. Yeah, that's the characters. So let's talk about the items now. So the items of this game are not too bad. It is such a simple amount of items, right? There are so little items, and the items that exist are so simple. As bare bones you can get for a Mario Kart game. You've got, I believe, and I might miss a couple out here, but I believe the mushroom, the shell, the banana, I think the red shell. Yeah, the red shell's in the game. The star, and the feather. I think that's all the items that you can use in the game. And I want to specify here, all the items you can use. Why am I specifying that? Well, because the AIs in the game get items that you don't have access to. Yeah, certain CPU characters get access to certain items. You can't get them even if you play as those CPU characters. For example, Princess Peach has access to a poison mushroom that she can put on the ground, and if you hit it, then you spin out and you shrink as if you'd been hit by lightning, which is another item that I forgot to mention. Bowser gets a fireball, which spins you out and loses you a bunch of coins and all. Acts kind of like a shell. Mario and Luigi can just pull stars out of their ass whenever they feel like it. Toad has mushrooms, and Koopa Troopa gets shells. So yeah, I can't actually remember if Donkey Kong Jr. actually gets any items, but I would presume bananas, because monkey. Either way, the game is stupidly unfair, and this is the first sign of it. But yeah, that's not the only unfairness the game has. Yeah, this game, similar to Mario Kart 64, also has a bit of a rubber banding problem, let's say. Now, it's nowhere near as noticeable and bad as 64, but it is still very much noticeable, and it's far worse than any other Mario Kart game apart from 64. The rubber banding, yeah, it's not great. You know, you can get in first, and you can stay in first, but it can be quite difficult considering half the AIs are often right behind you the second you get into first. So, yeah, that's not the most fun. But, that's pretty much all to say on items. But, what do you use the items on? On tracks, of course. So, the tracks, no, they're not good. This game objectively has some of the worst tracks. I want to say 64, but I mean, at least each one of 64's tracks was, you know, unique. This one has 4 Mario circuits and 3 donut plains, 2 vanilla lakes, I think 2 Choco Islands, and I believe either 3 or 4 Bowser's Castles. Why are there so many repeat tracks? Now, technically they're not repeat tracks because the tracks are different, but they're all just the exact same name with a different number at the end, and they all still have the exact same music to each track and follow roughly the same formula in how they play and look. So yeah, the track variety really isn't the best, to the point there's only 1 track in the entire game that's actually unique, and that is the infamous Rainbow Road. But apart from that, none of the tracks are unique. Are they fun to play on though? Well, yeah, let's get to that. So I did already mention the rubber banding, which is really annoying. This game is, especially compared to modern Mario Karts, stupidly difficult. I mean, even not comparing it to modern Mario Kart, it's still really dumb in terms of how difficult it is. I don't like the difficulty of this game, and I want to make that abundantly clear right here. But at the same time, I also kind of do. I mean, don't get me wrong, the difficulty of this game is stupid, it is annoying. But there's actually something that I kind of like about that. You know, Mario Kart 64, for example, using that, you know, the difficulty in that game is annoying. But it's annoying to the point that it's almost passable, but it's just bad enough that it's not, that it makes you suicidal. However, Super Mario Kart, I mean, you go into this game and you already know you're really going into something that is completely against you. So it kind of does feel, whenever you win a cup in Super Mario Kart, like far more of a win than getting a gold in something like 8 Deluxe. I mean, getting a gold in 8 Deluxe isn't, you know, the easiest thing on the planet, but it's definitely not difficult. But actually, you know, getting a gold star on this in Super Mario Kart, it's not an easy task. You know, you actually have to put in a little bit of effort if you want to, you know, get a good ranking in the game, which is something I can appreciate. Additionally, one of the main things people complain about in terms of the game is its physics and how the karts move. I'm not gonna lie, as much as I kind of understand what people are coming at there, it's not that bad. Once you learn it, is what I mean, it's not that bad. Kind of like what I said in the Super Circuit video, this game's movement has a bit of a learning curve to it, and it's a much steeper and higher learning curve than Super Circuits, but when you do learn how to properly maneuver in the game, it is one of the more fun Mario Karts to maneuver in, like genuinely. I have so much fun playing this game for the movement alone. The movement is not as refined as modern Mario Karts, and when you do an input, it doesn't feel as snappy as the current ones, but I kind of like that. The sluggishness of the inputs gives it a really odd, kind of almost weighted feel to it, and I do kind of appreciate that about the game. The weighted feel is fun, at the very least. It's different than all the other Mario Karts, and I can appreciate that. So, that's, I guess, pretty much it. The game itself, me personally, I like it. I have a bit of a soft spot for Super Mario Kart, and now that I've actually fully played it, and I can say I fully played and understand, at the very least, the basics of each Mario Kart and how you're supposed to move in them to be able to play the game well, I can say with confidence and zero guilt, yeah, this game is better than Mario Kart 64, just objectively. Listen, I'm sorry N64 fans, but Mario Kart 64 objectively has aged worse than Super Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart, at the very least, has that stupidly high level of difficulty to the point that when you go in, you know, yeah, you're gonna get screwed over. Mario Kart 64 feels like it shouldn't be like that, and it's far more annoying. Additionally, well, in Super Mario Kart, the majority of times, the red shells will actually hit the player in front of you. Unless they jump over it for some reason. Yeah, there's a couple other weird quirks about the game, like some CPUs being able to jump over red shells occasionally, but it's not too common of an occurrence, and to be honest, it's more just funny than anything, and I would rather the CPU jump over a red shell than the red shell just not hit it at all and go off into a wall like it does in 64. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna end this before this just turns into another second Mario Kart 64 hate video. I really don't like that game. But, yeah, so what is the final verdict on the very first ever Mario Kart? Super Mario Kart on the SNES? Well, me personally, it's not the best Mario Kart. It comes near the bottom of the list. And it has a lot of flaws. But I do kind of have a bit of a soft spot for it. Again, I like its gameplay. I like the difficulty of it. I like how stupidly annoying it can be at some times. And I think it's a little endearing. And of course, I do still have to give it the slight benefit of the doubt because, you know, it's the first ever Mario Kart. As flawed as this game is, I will always appreciate it for starting such an amazing series that Nintendo now has. So, yeah. That's it. So, what is the final verdict? Super Mario Kart? Yeah, people hating it too much.